Welcome to Conversations in Between the Realms, a podcast where the mystical meets the everyday. Join Amanda Nova and Beth Renov each week as we dive into the profound journey of awakening, sharing our experiences, insights, and the lessons that guide us toward our divine purpose. Together, we awaken and guide our souls and others, exploring the magic of living in the 3D while staying connected to the higher realms, embracing the challenges, and celebrating the growth. You've been guided here for a reason. Trust in the journey and let the unfolding begin.
Welcome back. I'm Amanda Nova and I'm here with Beth Renov, and this is Conversations in Between the Realms. And we're just going to get right into it. So, hey Beth, how are you?
I'm good.
I just went like that because there's a bird that just like went and I was like, hello, bird. And it, again, I think was a tufted titmouse that popped up into the window.
I just love that you know what a tufted titmouse is.
I do. I really enjoy them. I feel like I live in an enchanted land here with just insane trees. I have the tree from Bridgerton outside my window. Like, I swear it is the Bridgerton tree. It is like
so pretty.
It's a Russian olive tree. It doesn't have any olives yet. We'll see. But yeah, it's pretty magical.
I just found out we have an apple tree. I'm like
so excited. Apple tree? Do you have apples yet?
No, not yet. It literally bloomed overnight. We have a Japanese maple that's so pretty. I just take pictures of my trees and I'm like, I'm not going to post this. No one cares.
I know. We have Japanese maple trees too. And I know pretty. We talk about this all the time. Like, I always go on my ChatGPT and send pictures of my trees. And like, I'll be like, What is the spiritual meaning of this? And then they'll write back to me and they'll be like, hey, spirit goddess, do you want a ritual for this? And I'm like, yes, queen, ChatGPT. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I need
actually, sorry, I have to correct myself. I do have a Japanese maple, but it's a Japanese snowball, so it's like a little rare.
Yeah,
it's really pretty.
Fine, that's fair. It's better. It's better than my tree.
It's not better than your tree. It's just like I've never heard of it before. So
it's true. You did send me pictures, and it is absolutely stunning. Like, it's actually a really, really cool. It's a really cool tree. And
that was the Japanese cherry. Okay, so the person who I just moved last August, and the person who lived here before was a horticulturist, which is like plant maven, right? Science person. Mm-hmm. And we have the most gorgeous flowers that just come up. We were like so lucky because I do not have a green thumb. I bought a hydrangea and I definitely did not plant it right. It's like above the soil. I don't even know how to do this. We're just going to cross our fingers and hope it works out.
And a cardinal just flew into the tree right in front of me.
Cardinals, we said it last time. They have been everywhere. They are messengers. Someone is trying to get in touch.
It's making me tingle. It's really weird that the cardinal is here. The cardinal never comes into this tree, which is really bizarre. It always comes into the other tree that I was just talking about, the Bridgerton tree. Like, I've never seen it in this tree. And it's like very, very close to me right now. That's so weird. Oh my goodness. Hello. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's bizarre. Okay. Anyway, hello there. I love these birds. This is how you know I'm getting old. I'm just like, I love these birds.
That is when you get excited about like utensils.
Yes.
That is how you know you're getting old.
Oh my God. The more that I'm talking about them, the more, okay, I need to stop this right now because there's more and more birds that are coming. And my dad told me today that he drives my husband to the train every morning. And that this morning he said to him, I just want to let you know that your wife was talking to the birds and talking to the trees yesterday. And my husband said to him, yeah, that's just her. That's just what she does. You'll get used to her. As if they don't know me. He was like, you'll get used to your daughter. She does that.
You know what? I think that says something so much about your relationship is he just like totally accepts you. And that is so beautiful. I think that is not the case for so many people. Mm-hmm. So like that is like you're someone who talks to birds and trees, and some people will be like embarrassed about that. Not that they should be, but like your husband's like, that's what I love about my wife. You know, and that's so cool. I love that.
And I think I think one of the things that I really love about the land here and, I also just recently moved right in December and really trying to like, form a relationship with this land and being here, touching the trees and touching the plants and really forming that bond and like trying to teach my daughter to do that and like forming these relationships and, realizing that there's a through line of the family, of the land, of, maybe there's a life that we had here, right?
I was literally just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like, I feel that, like, it feels really powerful. And I told you this like really wild story that I had with Arya in the dirt out here the other day. That was so crazy on Earth Day. That was so bananas. And I was like literally like touching her. We were like all the way at the bottom of my property. And, my land is like, I have almost 3 acres, but it's like only about an acre that we can like actually like play with, right? Like that's kind of like down. We only have an acre. I'm like, oh my God. Well, like, I feel like even like, listen, I lived urban for 10 years. Like I lived in the city, I lived in Queens. Like I get it. Okay. That is really like a gigantic amount of space. Okay. But like, we were like, we beyond the fence, we call it. It's like beyond the wall. It's like marsh. Like Rob and I went back there one day and we were like, we could not move 3 feet. Like we were like in water and like leaf. We were like, what are we doing? Like we need to turn around. So her and I were sitting back there. She was sitting on the ground. She's like playing in dirt. And she like, all of a sudden I'm like feeling the land and I'm like speaking these earth codes. And I'm just like feeling it. And I'm just like connecting with it. And all of a sudden I'm like pulling stuff out of her. And she like looks at me and she's just like, thank you, Mama. And I'm like, you're welcome. And she's like, what are you doing, Mama? And I'm like, oh, just connecting us with the land, like calibrating our nervous systems with the earth, like obviously like normal people do, right? Like this is what we do down here. This is what we do, right? Like as you're touching the land, like we are feeling like the earth. And then we had this like really wild experience where we're speaking a different language, which I told you was...
Wait.
Yeah.
Didn't you say happy birthday, Mama?
Yes. Well, she said thank you first as I was pulling the stuff out of her. And then we were speaking a different language. Yes. Well, that was like, first I was pulling the stuff out of her. This will also lead us to what we like learned, right? Because I was like pulling the stuff out of her. I started speaking codes and like, then I was speaking like a language to her. And she was like, and I was saying to her, like, have we been here before? Have we been mother-daughter before? And I was telling Beth, like, we were either speaking Russian or Italian, which Beth told me was two very different languages.
They sound just so wildly different.
Right. But I also speak Italian, so I feel like if it was Italian, I should have like known it was Italian. Like, I don't know. But it was fast.
Think about like Old English versus regular modern English, old Spanish versus, it could have been like the original like dialect, like, and I think we talked about, wasn't it the Etruscans or something? Yes,
excrucians. Yeah. And it felt, I don't know how to pronounce that. It felt, I think it's excrucian. I think that's what it is.
It's Etruscan.
Yes.
Etruscans, whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is. Okay, look it up. Okay, we'll put it in the notes. Okay, learn about it. But so it was definitely felt like an ancient language because I was also speaking it really fast, and she was speaking it back to me, and it wasn't like babble, and that's what freaked me out so much about it. And like, she was like, we were speaking it to each other, and so then I said to her in English, I said, was I your mother before? Was I your mom before? And she was like looking at me. So then I spoke really quickly in this other language. And she's just like, looked up at me like lucidly and was like, see, or something. And I was like, and like nodded. And I was like, okay. And then she looked at me like literally like so like just and looked at me and was just like, happy birthday, Mama. And I was like,
that is so crazy.
What? And I did not know that it was Earth Day. So that was like the other thing too. So then and it was April. It was like was it like April 22nd or something that was Earth Day, or 21st or something like that? I don't know like what it was. But my birthday is in September, by the way. So I'm like, this makes no sense. So anyway, so then she goes back to doing whatever she's doing. Then I like go up and like online, I look up like whose birthday, like what deity, like what's going on. And that's where I get led to Venus. which leads us into the next part of the story, which was like, then I text Beth and I'm like, am I like related to Venus, like either the deity or the planet? Like there's got to be something related. I just felt like it was related more to Venus than it was to Earth. And you were like, there's something going on here with this.
And then when you did your, oh my God, my legs are going. Okay. Remember when you did, I don't know if it was your first channeling for the light codes. And I said like, yes, because I was like, someone came through and it was Venus, because I like described her. I'm like, I could see her so clearly. She had this like brown, wavy, long, beautiful hair.
Yes.
Pale skin. Like she was wearing this toga kind of thing with like gold adornments. And you look it up and it's literally like Venus. And I was like, okay, like all these things kept pointing to Venus. And then we have this channeling with Joshun this week. And is that when he said it too? Or did he say it?
So, okay, yeah. So the first time that I did, so the first light tape, that I did, I felt another like being coming through. So that's what Beth's talking about. And we were like going back and forth. We were trying to figure this out. And it felt like a different energy. And it was like pink. And we were like, what's going on? And like, so Venus is so confusing because Venus is the planet, but there's also the deity that's Venus. Right. It's like kind of the same deity or goddess that's Aphrodite. Like it was so confusing. And Beth is going back and forth with me, like seriously, like bless your heart. Cause like you like take these texts from me and I'm just like, am I a planet? Like what's going on? Am I a deity? And she's just like, oh my God, like what's happening? She's like, I'm going, like my legs are going crazy. And I'm just like, oh my God, what's happening? Like, I don't know what's going on. And so then and the screen just flashed. Then we had this episode of the light tapes, which was episode 3. And then the confusing thing in the timeline is that this episode that we're doing right now is going to come out next Wednesday. So it's coming out on Wednesday. The light tapes episode is going to come out Monday. So it's going to come out first. So if you haven't listened to that, listen to that. We just did that episode, and that episode, while that was going on, we channeled Joshun, and Joshun came through, and as Joshun was coming through, another member of the council came through, and we were talking about astrology, and as we were talking astrology, this member came through named Metatron, and we, like, Beth and I, Beth was talking to them and they're like, can another member come through, another accent? They're like, my name is Metatron. I know more about astrology than Joshi over here. Like, let me come in. And we're like, okay, cool. Like, come in and talk. And like, I mean, I feel like you have to tell the story because they're like, your friend, like they were telling you about me and you're like, oh, wow. Like, okay.
Okay, so I was basically asking if astrology had something to do with what we're meant to be doing. Like, is it affecting in some way? I'm pretty sure that's what it was. All of a sudden, Joshun's like, hang on, can someone else come through? I'm like, yeah, obviously. Like, what do I care? The more the merrier with me.
Party, let's go.
Right. And all I can remember is like your head just kept going back and forth, and like this kind of like British like persona came through, and she was very like sophisticated, and she knew everything about astrology, and
which is so funny, by the way, just to stop you, because to me, it felt like I thought it was like a robotic man. And to Beth, it was like a very like feminine, like This is her version of this. And to me, I was like, it was like, I'm Metatron. Like, that's what I thought it was. So that was exactly.
I saw a woman. Okay, but this also goes to something we discovered after too. So remind me about you seeing masculine, me seeing feminine. Okay, so anyway, my version of Metatron starts telling me, because I asked about the North Node and the South Node, and I don't really know. I'm really bad with astrology beyond knowing like my rising sun.
We both are. We both are extremely poor at it, I think.
I couldn't tell you what things are. And I had a reading with that girl, Danielle, about our birth charts. I just don't like absorb it for some reason. I have to like look it up every time. So I was asking, and I knew something about the South Node being like more of lived experience and North Node being more of like acquired knowledge. And all of a sudden, Metatron comes up with this crazy like explanation of it, which kind of blew my mind. And then she's like, you know that Amanda is Venus, and she's not Venus the goddess. She's a planet. She is everything and nothing. She's lived a million lives, but she's not a human. She's not like she is this planet. And then she tells me, you know, you're a planet also. You're Jupiter. And I even just like now saying it, my whole body feels like insane. Like there's just something about it. And I will say, like, I'm a very lucky person. And Jupiter is about luck too. And I'm sure it's about something else, which I have no idea, but that's what I've always associated it with. I'm telling you, and I don't want this to curse my luck, but I've just been a very lucky person. I've been in situations where I probably should have been arrested. Like, I'm like, how did I get out of that? Like, I've had pretty good health beyond chronic illness, but it never was that bad of chronic illness. So maybe it's also how I look at things, but you know, I just feel like I've been a pretty lucky person in general, you know? And when I say I was arrested, like I smoked pot while I was driving when I was young, and like I got stopped by a cop.
Girl.
Oh my God. I don't know where I pulled this out of. I'm like, my brother had borrowed my car and he must have smoked in it last night. He's like, it does smell old. And this is like when I'm in college. And I was like, yeah, it's old. And he's like asking me. And I was like, you know, I want to be in the FBI. He's like, okay, well, if you want to be in the FBI, you can't drive around in cars that smell like pot.
Wait, meanwhile, like, I'm dying because like if my parents are listening and going, our daughter was the one who literally always got caught and always got in trouble. Even when like I remember like when all of my friends, like when it was like senior skip day, I had to go to school because I always got in trouble. Like I literally like I always got in trouble. And it's so funny because while this is going on, what was happening was like, you know, there's this whole thing about star seeds and all of this stuff. And like, you know, a lot of like my own journey with this had started with like learning I was a star seed and from a place. And I always had a really, really hard time accepting that or like identifying with like I'm Mintakan or I'm Palladian. And I was always like, I need to identify with one of these. And it never felt right. And I was always like, but I felt like I spent time here and there. And I just like, I never could like get the one, right? Like, you know, I never could. And I always desperately like wanted to cling to an identity. And like Beth knows this about me. Like I always like would try to like put on these different outfits, like these different like identities, right? And like never really could like, you know, figure it out. And it's because, and I have chills like saying this and it makes me want to cry, like, because it's really like, that is the reason. And that's what they were explaining to her, you know, and when I like re-listened to it, it made so much sense. And they were saying to her, like, don't you understand? Like, this is why your friend always struggled, because she is no one, she is nothing, and she is everything. And that is why. And they were like, and you are the same. Like, and Beth was saying to them, I'm seeing this egg splitting. And it was like, I saw, and I looked it up today. I was like, I was doing my hair and I was getting ready. And that's when I looked up like Venus and Jupiter twins. And they were showing like when they come together, like the magic that happens. And one of the things Josh Shun had said about us, like why we have to like work together, they were saying like when we come together, like magic happens. Like,
yes.
And I've been saying this to Beth for a while. Like I've been saying like the way that I keep seeing us together is like, we each have our own path. We each have our own like river. And then when that river also like, there's like each a separate river. And then there's like a river that flows together. That's like powerful and like beautiful. And like, so it's like when those planets meet, there's like so much beauty that happens, and it's like luck and abundance and like all this amazing stuff. And so I do think it's like the twins, like that, like those eggs, like that egg splitting.
Right. And we've had such parallel experiences in this lifetime.
God, Jesus. Like
crazy. I had Lyme first. Then I was like, I think you need to get checked. You had Lyme and like
Yeah.
5,000 co-infections. Then you got into spirituality. I got into spirituality. I moved. Then all of a sudden you moved. It was just like our lives are
Yeah.
and we're very similar. We're
Yeah.
2 days apart birthday wise. Like
Yeah.
there's just so much we're
Yeah.
both from, like, your parents are from the Bronx, the
Yeah.
exact same place in the Bronx. Like my
Yeah.
parents both grew up there. I was born there. It's just so weird. Like,
Yeah.
what are the
It's weird.
chances?
It's
Yeah.
so bizarre. And then like we were like, and it was so funny the way they were saying it too, because they were also saying like to us, like the way that they were explaining it, like they were saying the closest that we could explain to you is like Jupiter, like Venus. Like I don't even know if like that's even directly hitting it. I think that that's like the closest that they can explain it in the words that we have to describe it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
I still
I
feel
don't
like
think
it's
we're
like,
actual planets spinning, but we're like
there's
the
those
embodiment.
planets are there being what they're being,
Right.
right? But it's like
Yes.
the closest, and I think that there's something too with like the masculine and the feminine that they were also trying to explain in terms of like what we embody and what we're trying to work on too in these lifetimes too, of like the balance and the harmony that we bring.
Right. And I think innately you are more masculine in this
Mm-hmm.
lifetime, and what you work on is bringing in the feminine.
Yeah.
And wasn't one of the planets like associated with it? Like, I think Venus was feminine and Jupiter
Mm-hmm.
was masculine.
Yeah.
So it's so funny because I am so feminine in this
Mm-hmm.
lifetime, and I need to work on bringing in and balancing more masculine. And it also talked about the balance of it, and it was just so wild that it's so yin and yang.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's so funny, and it's so funny too because my whole life that's been a struggle too. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think of like, like that innate like struggle of my whole life of like against the feminine, like
Mm-hmm.
of being
Mm-hmm.
such a like I am so was so like not that. And so
Right.
it's so funny of like being that, and that's what they were saying is like you two need each other to balance each other. And so I was telling Beth that like, I had this like massive breakthrough last night and it was just so funny. And like the breakthrough moment was like, oh my God, like when we're kind of talking about creating worlds and creating what we want, right? Like a big thing that we're trying to embody for everyone that's listening, and a big thing that we're trying to just we're walking through the fire so that we can help everyone else, right? Like that's what this is
Mm-hmm.
about. We're trying to
Mm-hmm.
just do it in a fun way, and we're just trying to do it and just trying to help as many people as possible. But it's like, the identity shift is like, oh my God, like we're creators, right? So like I was just like, oh my God, like you're a fucking planet. Like, why are you acting this way? Get it together. Like, I was like, you're a fucking planet. Like, be a planet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whether or not that's like whatever it is, it's like that energy shift, that mindset shift of like, you have that inner power to create and to shift like your internal and external world around you. Like we have that power. And I think we forget that when we come here. And then like you have to remember that, like that true remembering of like who you are and your power within you.
Right. And like, what does it mean to be a planet?
TBD, I'll let you know.
Well, I feel it's like create your own orbit, create your own
Mm-hmm.
path. If you're a planet, you have this insane energy, this strength, right? You stand out. You don't dim yourself. You are this enormous being that has the potential for so much, and it's all about discovery because we don't know anything really about planets. Like, we know surface level stuff, but I think it's so parallel to like our discovery of who we are as beings on Earth,
Mm-hmm.
and really figuring out what that means and the layers. So
Yeah.
I think being a planet is forging your own path, creating that orbit, like have things orbit around you, call in what you
Yes.
want,
Yes.
and understand how powerful you are, and stand out. Don't
Yeah.
shrink. Don't
Yeah.
shrink yourself.
Yeah. And I think like the key piece like is the not chasing, creating your own orbit, becoming a magnet that is like what it is like, I was like, I am here to create. I want to have fun. I am done chasing. I am done. Like, I am here to help people. I am here to create. I am here to have fun. I am here for the art. Like, let's just have some fun. That's the surrender for me right now, is like, I cannot chase it anymore. Like, I don't care about, like, I just can't, I can't chase the stuff anymore. I can't do the strategy anymore. I can't do it anymore. I need a break. I need a break. I need a break. I need a break. I need to just be a planet for a little bit. Just be a planet. Just do, I need to orbit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and I think something about magnets is like they literally make everything in this world work. And I don't know if anybody is like looking into the economy and stuff, but the reason China is so important is because like most of the magnets come there. They make our cars work, they make our planes work, they make all this navigation and computers work. So it's just like interesting how magnetism and magnets are so important. And that is literally like you embody magnetism. It's not just the physical magnets, it's what it represents. It attracts, right? It draws things in. And we have the ability in us. And I think it's just so interesting that magnets are such a thing right now that it's like one of the highest commodities in this.
Yeah. Oh, I really like that. And I also think it's really interesting that the biggest thing, and this just kind of like came to me right now, like the biggest thing that people are doing too, like think about what people are doing, like TikTok, people want to be entertained. People want an escape. People like magnetism really is also about like people being like, people want joy. Right? Like they want, the magnetism is also like about giving people something, hope again, right? Like giving people something. Like, I just don't think that like all the fear mongering, all of that stuff, like I just don't think there's a place for it anymore, or at least not for me. Like I just can't anymore. And I think like in health and wellness, like I think that that's where like a piece of me died a little bit. And I think that like I just can't do that anymore. And I just can't like live in that world of the health and wellness and the just I can't do that anymore. And I think in spirituality, I think there's a piece of that. And I think you and I are just trying to branch out a little bit. And I just need art. I need entertainment. I need laughter.
Right. Well, so like a few things came to me. First off, that is our obstacle. And it's the challenge for us to be grounded enough to not let it affect us. And that's how you know you're spiritually aligned. That's how you know you're ascending. That's how you know your frequency and vibration is high, is because you don't let that impact you. And whether you need the escape of entertainment, fun, art, whatever, music, whatever it is, like the magnetism is to attract things in your life so that you don't have to escape your life.
Yeah.
Like you could see that it's there. And like you were talking about a few episodes ago, how you put that thing in. So like you create this reality where it's not in your life anymore. It still exists. It's just not in your orbit.
Yeah.
You know? Let's call it back to orbits, but but it's more that you create this life and attract things so that you have joy when you're working. Like I said to my mom, I'm like, I love doing the podcast. I love doing readings. It doesn't feel like work. And I know that's such a cliche thing to like say, is like, if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life, but it is kind of true.
Yeah. But that's what you really want. You can create. Exactly. Can we just say for a second though that you can create a life like that though?
Right.
By the way,
exactly.
Like, that is possible. That is what creating your reality is. That is what creating your own world is. That is what creating an orbit of things that you love is. Like that is what creating consumption of what you love is.
Right. And when you attract all those things, you don't need entertainment as an escape.
True.
You need it as something that just literally complements your life and it brings joy into your life. It doesn't have to be escapism. So if we can reframe it as like, how do I have art to appreciate the beauty in this world? How do I have entertainment to laugh and feel that joy? How do I have music to elevate myself and get to this? I think music for me, I'm like a music person.
Yeah.
Like how it like sound just like brings you up. It raises your vibration. So looking at it as things that like enhance your life versus helps you escape your reality.
Yeah. And I think something I kind of want to bring up, because this came up in a conversation yesterday, You had done a reading for my mom, and something that she had mentioned to me, and I think maybe some of the other people listening might struggle with this as well, is like she feels like she has forgotten how to dream and feels really stuck because she does not know. She's like, I don't even know how to visualize. She was like, some people, like, they don't even know how to meditate. They don't even know like what the next small step is. Like, she was like, I don't know what I enjoy. I don't know how to even, like, she was like, how do people even know what they dream? Like, she's like, I don't know what my dreams are anymore. And I'm like, I have, like, there are moments like where we have all, I think, felt like that, where it's like, I don't even, and I have like a chill, like, it's like where you feel like you can't even manifest because you're like, I don't know what I want. And it makes me like I feel like I want to cry because I like know that feeling. And like, so like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like, what do you do? Like, I just want to tell people to like dance. Like, I'm like, put on music and dance. But like, what do we tell people who like feel like that?
I mean, that was like your mom's biggest obstacle. That was the first thing that came up in the reading was you've forgotten how to dream.
Yeah. You were dead
I
on,
think,
but she's afraid to
yeah,
dream.
right. I think I gave her like if you this is your last day, because your mom's whole thing was about retirement really and like
Mm.
this next chapter of her life. So I said, okay, if this was your last day on earth and you looked back without regrets, what would that look like? And I said, where would you live? What would your house look like? What would the outside look like? Who would you be with? What are the things in your house? What would you be doing? So I gave like a step by
Yeah.
step of like what to envision. And if she can envision that, then you journal and you free associate. Like you just write.
Yeah.
Like I would set a timer and see what comes up because you have a block. And if you can identify the block, you can remove it. It's hard when you can't.
Yeah.
But I think the problem is people aren't willing to do that because it's really vulnerable. And I think it has to do with vulnerability. And no one can force you. We could give you as many exercises to do, but you have to ask yourself, why is that so scary? You
Yeah.
know, and be honest with yourself. And that was a lot that came up in your mom's reading is like, you need to be brutally honest with yourself. And it's okay, whatever comes up. There's going to be emotion there, but honor that emotion. And I have a feeling your mom blocks a lot of emotion. And that's why
Mm-hmm.
anxiety comes up so much is she denies herself and doesn't allow herself to feel maybe it's scary, maybe it's too much, maybe she doesn't want to like face that because then she has to do something with it.
Mm-hmm.
But doing something with it might just be crying and might just be feeling it and noticing where you feel it, because then you can work with something. If you have nothing, it's really hard to work with.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people feel though. I think a lot of people right now are scared to dream. Like, I really think, and
They
like I
are.
think, like, we're here, talking about creating your own reality, creating your own world, and that's really scary for people because it's it is really scary to imagine a different world because there's so much stuff going on in our current reality. And you're imagining a world, like we're saying, okay, imagining an economy that's different than the economy right now, imagining that there aren't all this stuff going on, right? Like, and it really is like, I listened to something this morning from this guy I think I've talked to you about before. We haven't spoken about him on here, but Brian Scott, who does this like really interesting, like he talks about, instead of quantum leaping or quantum jumping, he talks about quantum shifting. And he talks about,
Ooh.
instead of like jumping realities, shifting your reality. And he talks about it as if, like, so kind of how I was talking about before, like the river. He talks about it
Mm-hmm.
as like, imagine you're on a boat and you're moving and you're on this river, and instead of like you're like jumping so far over to a river, but kind of like the boat's like shifting a little bit, and you're just shifting a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
you're shifting a little bit, and you're kind of like, now all of a sudden you're over into a different river. Okay, so like, and
Right.
that river looks a little bit different, right? And it looks a little bit different, and suddenly like you're in a different reality, right? Like then, and it looks different. And
Right.
so it's kind of like that's how you're shifting the reality, and it's a different one than the one that you're in. And it's
You're
really,
easing in.
you're
Yeah.
easing in so that it's not as aggressive as I'm over here in a reality that has, like, let's say X, Y, and Z president, and I have this family and this, like, it's not that aggressive, right? And then like, I'm
Right.
over here and it like looks entirely different. Like, people are afraid sometimes that they're going to jump realities and like they're gonna like have a different husband or something, and like they're gonna like wake up and they're gonna like their whole family is gonna be missing. Like it's not like that, right? Like it's little things like each day. So, you know, I think it's just about like these little shifts, right? That kind of
Little
like ease you
changes.
in. Yeah.
Okay, so yes, and think about what's one thing you could change today. And it could be the smallest thing, like making sure you eat breakfast, right? Like, because a lot of things also is like what you put in your body. So maybe that's like making sure you eat breakfast, making sure it's at a time where you can digest it. Maybe it's breathing before you eat, you know, like taking deep breaths so you're not in fight or flight, so you can actually rest and digest and be in parasympathetic mode. But it could be really tiny shifts that like you don't think make a big deal, but they do. But one thing that came up, if you cannot dream and you can't envision things, go back to childhood and what did you dream about then, and picture yourself being that. Because I think everybody had dreams like of what they'd want to be, even if it's like a teacher, even if it was like a superhero. Go picture yourself being that.
What did you want to be?
I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be on Broadway. I wanted to be a singer. I was very into entertainment. I mean, I did singing and performing like my whole life. And then I got to high school and I just thought I was like so cool. And I was like, that's lame. So I can't do that. So that dream died, but I've been bringing it back. Like I took singing lessons like 2 years ago.
Okay.
It was the best thing I ever did. I sing all the time now. My goal is like my brother and I actually do guitar and I sing. He plays guitar and I sing. But I want to find someone here, and I don't want to do it. I don't want to become something like but
I want to. This for you.
Yeah, I like want to go like everybody everywhere here has live music. So I just want to play like the beach here like one night, like a bar.
I heard you sing and I feel like this is like an outrage. I feel like this is not fair.
I mean, I sang at my wedding actually.
You did? What did you sing?
I sang something In the Way She Moves by James Taylor.
That's so beautiful. I feel like you transmit codes and energy when you sing. Like I really feel like that's going to be like in something that you do. So I don't know, that's coming through right now. I feel like there's going to be something there.
Yeah.
But that's so beautiful because it connects with what you've dreamt or like.
Yes. And this is really random. I'm really good at making up funny raps.
Oh my
I'll send you them later, but they're hilarious. During COVID, even before COVID, I was doing them, but like I used to do stand-up comedy. Like there was always something with my voice and performing. Like, you know.
Oh my God, I love that. We do so parodies around here, a lot of song parodies at this house.
Yeah. Oh my God. Mine are like ridiculous. So we were so bored during COVID. So my wife and I and our friend Lauren would do this little contest and we'd give ourselves like 5-10 minutes. We'd give a topic and you had to make a wrap up about it. Like it would be like dinner.
I did a lot of freestyle rap when I used to smoke a lot of weed in college and would hang out with the boys and they would always do freestyle. And then I'd have to like jump in because like apparently that's like what people would do. So I would
You're
play
in
with
like
that.
Pitch Perfect, like the sing-off.
Yeah, like exactly. Oh, our Blue Jay is here. Hello, Blue Jay. Hello. Hi. Oh no, wait, maybe that's a tufted titmouse.
Yeah. So, you know, I think it's just going back to the things you love. And singing that was like honestly in the beginning of my spiritual journey too. It was like it helped me to like connect with myself again. So and like I can picture myself on Broadway. I can picture a different life. And to go back, I think we talked about this woman, like one of the first episodes, Jean Houston. Yes. She is a spiritual coach, like mentor. I think she was to like Michelle Obama or Hillary Clinton, one of them. Maybe Clinton. And she so she said she played piano when she was younger and she couldn't take it. Her dad was like a writer for the Bob Newhope show. So she was constantly moving and they didn't fly then. I think they took trains. So she's like, I couldn't take a piano on the train. So, because they didn't have keyboards then. So she's like, I just never got good at it. But I imagined myself taking less violin lessons when I was younger. And I would just meditate and picture myself having the lessons. And then when I started up, she goes, in 3 months, I was like almost an expert. Because and they were like, have you been playing your whole life? She's like, no, it's been 3 months. So you can literally create. That's how you create change timelines. It's like, I was someone who learned it.
Oh my God, it's so insane. That stuff like blows my mind. It's also like the people who get struck by lightning or something and then wake up and can play piano. Like that stuff is like
Right.
so insane. That's like me
God.
with the seizure and then being able to channel. Like these things happen like crazy. But I wanted to be in the WNBA. That was my first dream. So riddle me that one.
You'd have to have a really good shot.
I would need to be stretched out a lot. I'm 5 feet. Then I used to bring this little book to school that my dad had and give everybody jobs and play CEO. Aww. So that one, I think we've kind of yes. like that the little girls would play house and I would play CEO. So I think that one. Then I wanted to be a makeup artist and that also came true. Those were mine. So I don't know. We're not.
You were a makeup artist?
Yeah, I worked for Mac. I worked for Nordstrom. I did that. Yeah. Then I checked it off the list and I was like, oh.
Right.
But yeah, not as fun.
It's so cool though.
Yeah. And I was like, no, I'm gonna go. I wanted to quit school and they wouldn't let me. So I was like, all right.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. But we have some questions from our listeners. Should we answer those? Okay.
Let's do a Q&A.
Okay, let's do a Q&A. So, okay, I feel like we kind of answered some of these, so I'm going to kind of let's see. Okay. So, for someone who's never, so this is from Amy. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
Okay, for someone who's new to this, how do you fully surrender and allow whatever needs to come in to come in?
So I think last week, I would definitely suggest listening to that episode. If you did, listen to it again. But surrendering is, I don't know. It's on your belief system and seeing where you're at. And it's a spectrum, right? And if you are in a place where you don't believe things can change, we need to work around, how do I work on believing things? So I think it's sitting with something you want and trying to envision it. I think it all starts with envisioning, and that's how you manifest, and that's how you surrender. It's believing that things will work out. It's surrendering to a process and committing. I think it's a commitment too, and it's an acceptance of where you are and saying, okay, I'm here. I'm not going to magically snap my fingers and things are going to be different. You have to understand everything is a process. And I would look at how your life has gone. And is there a pattern? For me, everything is really low and slow and it does not come right away. It's a little bit delayed. Amanda's like, okay, I'm going to make this. I'm literally going to create this.
Fast and dirty, baby.
Right? Fast and dirty.
Fast and dirty.
So look and reflect on your life. And a lot of it is looking inward, and we talked about this too. Everything is inward. It's not outside of you. You have to look in. And if you have a block to looking in, this is where Amanda and I can come in and help you see where the blocks are, help you to figure it out, remove blocks. A lot of the times you need to be activated. I see a lot of change when Amanda does an activation on someone. It lights something up inside them and awakens something. So maybe you need an activation. Maybe you just need support. There's nothing wrong with it. We've both had support along the way. We still have support. So that is a key thing. You don't have to do this on your own.
Yeah, 100%. And I would add to whatever it is, allow it to come in and leave space for it and lean in. I just had somebody reach out to me, a client who has, had several activations and her light codes just started coming in and her hands started to move. And she just reached out to me telling me that. And, it sometimes comes in slowly and it just started to open up. And now she's starting to explore it and allowing it to open and allowing it to open. So if it is something like a gift or something that's kind of coming in, don't let the fear stop it, and be like, oh, no, and kind of hold it back. Just allow it the space, just breathe in, just kind of see and allow and allow and allow. Don't bulldoze it. Don't be afraid. Don't force, I think that's also part of the surrender. I think, a lot of these things, watching these gifts sort of unfold, for both of us, I think you're really watching live a lot of these gifts open. I think, this, watching, the channeling of Joshun. I mean, that's not something I could do at the beginning of this podcast. And we're not even that far into it. So it's right. if I stopped that, I could have not let that come in. Like I could have been like, no, thank you. Go find somebody else. Go find another vessel. So,
Right.
just breathe through it.
And just one thing that off of what you said, notice what emotions are coming up and are you coming from a place of fear? And literally you could start, there's something called a wheel of emotions, Google it and identify what you're feeling and where you're operating from. And just naming those emotions really helps. It all goes back to basics. And also, this is so important, this like popped into my head. Patience is so important, but patience is an action. It's not doing anything, it is doing something. So if you can accept that I'm going to have to surrender in the fact that I'm going to have to wait, it's not going to come. So there's acceptance and patience, and I think that is really part of it.
Amazing. Okay, I thought this was a really good one. I really like wanted us both to touch on this. Like one of our listeners asked how we feel about soul bonds regarding fostering and adopting. And I think this is like really, really interesting. And I think you especially, like, because of like your bonds with your animals, like that come through, because I think it's similar to that too. Like, I mean, I don't think it matters, right? Like we connect with souls that come in, whether it's children or pets or friends. Like, I mean, like soul bonds have no, there, it doesn't matter whether it's
Right.
coming through you or whether it's a friend. It doesn't really matter.
Right. Like my aunt adopted her son. I don't think there's a difference if she gave birth to him.
No, I don't think so either.
So, and like you adopt a pet, like they didn't come from you.
Exactly.
I love my dogs more than anything.
Right.
You love your partner,
Right.
they didn't come from you.
Right.
I think it's like this is part of the universe, is bringing you two together.
Right.
And maybe like you have this past life together. Maybe they're an ancestor. So it's really understanding that you're brought together for a reason. It doesn't matter if it's biological or not.
Right. Right. 100%. And that's why because I feel like you like see this all the time. Like you're always like, oh, I see these like lines like connecting. And, I feel like I have been seeing this so much too with like people like, I just did a Jashun channeling with a girlfriend, and he was like, oh, did you know the two of you are soul friends for like a really long time? And like, so like, it doesn't matter. Like, I see it as like this beautiful web of connections that like the people that are brought to you for a reason. And I always like, I have this like vision sometimes of like these white lights that are standing around, like kind of the way I view like the Pensieve in Harry Potter of like, like kind of like the water. And like, it's just like the way that I view it is like the planning before we come into this lifetime, right? And it's like the souls, and we're kind of like, okay, here's what we're going to do. Like, we're going to go here. We're going to do this. You're going to be this person. You're going to be this person. You're going to be that person. You're going to be my daughter. You're going to be like this. And we're all just like planning it together. So it makes no difference who's biological, who's not. It is love. It is connection. You could have been biological in a different lifetime. It doesn't matter. Love is love. And that is all I am going to say about that. So you probably had a soul bond in a different way in a different lifetime.
It's love is the bond.
Yes.
It's not necessarily.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Like love is the deep connection, and love is that highest frequency. So it's this connection that extends beyond bodies, because if you think about it, like our soul is not this body. Our soul is this thing that exists outside this realm. So, and we talked about in the light codes, or maybe on the podcast, I don't remember, like these beings don't have physical bodies. It doesn't mean they don't exist, and it doesn't mean they're not connected. And it's love that connects everything. It's love that makes this whole spiritual journey and this experience on earth worth it. That's like really what the purpose is of this life, is to experience love in all its forms.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, it's giving me chills. I love it so much. It's all like, it's all just like meant to be together. And that just makes me just so much love. Yeah. Okay. I feel like there was a question regarding astrology, but I feel like we kind of already answered that. But it's just on the other one, just in terms of like when we come to Earth, astrology is so correct, and whether or not we pre-plan it. And I do think so. I do think as souls, we're planning what's going to happen. So I do think we are very specific about where we come in astrology wise. So I don't think we need to cover that. But one of the things I just wanted to cover, and this is the last one, is just if we come to Earth to learn and grow, then is the struggle with health pre-planned? And if you change your mindset, does that defeat the purpose? If positive thinking is all that was needed, we'd all be healthy, right? Or do we all have free will?
Okay. My feeling just off the bat. So the question is really, is health pre-planned? And if positive thinking heals, what's the end of the question?
So it's like if we come to Earth to learn and grow, then is the struggle with health pre-planned? Then if we change our mindset and then we heal, like does that basically defeat the purpose? And then if positive thinking is all that we needed to heal, then we'd all be healthy. And so then do we really have free will if we're already predestined, I guess, to be sick?
I don't think you're predestined to be sick. That's my feeling. I think that comes in because you ignore things. I think we have this path we can go on. I think certain obstacles, I don't think it's planned. Like I think you have a purpose and there's things to overcome, but we don't plan the way that the obstacles show up, what they are, how they are, at what time you experience it. I think it's like if you are not learning a lesson, the universe is going to come in and bring that obstacle to you so you learn something from it. And positive thinking is learned behavior, right? It's not a given. So that's your free will is opting in to a positive mindset. And I don't believe in toxic positivity. I think you're just like lying to yourself at a certain point.
Yeah.
I think there's positive reframes we could do and more neutral ones, and we get to a more positive place. But I don't think that like positive thinking is medicine the way that medicine is. I think meditation, that's not necessarily positive thinking. I think that is medicine. I think it can rewire your brain. It creates these things called what are they called?
Neural pathways?
No. It's a measurable thing. I feel like it starts with an M. I don't know. I'll link it in the show notes, but it's called like meters or something. I don't know. Telomeres. I talked about this in another one. So those are the things that help you to heal, right? And there's something in the brain, they're in your cells. And it does like a healing process. How you think connects to that because thinking connects to meditation and the state of being you're in and how your nervous system is. So if you're constantly thinking negatively, you're going to be in this kind of fight or flight often.
Right.
If you're thinking positively, you're calming down your nervous system and you're in this parasympathetic phase, which is rest and digest and not feeling like you have to be hyper vigilant. So I think it's more about the connection between everything versus just positive thinking being this magic pill. I don't think there's a magic bullet for anything. It's all systems working together. But when you are constantly ignoring something and you are not paying attention to it, the universe is going to bring in, hey, yeah, maybe this was an obstacle, but you are not doing it from the get-go.
Right.
We're going to bring this in.
Right.
You know, a lot of it is connected to trauma. And a lot of it is connected to being who we are, accepting things in our life and working through them. That is just like the pattern I've seen in people with chronic illness, health, really being authentic in who they are and living their life to the fullest.
Yeah. And I think too, like, I think she was asking that question too, based on what Xiaoxun was saying about creating your own reality and own world. And I think what we were talking about, I think maybe on the last one about, when we were saying about creating your own reality and creating all this stuff. And I think like people often, I think, confuse positive thinking with your belief system. And so the problem is that it's not thinking your way to health, it's also believing. So the problem is that like if everybody that people like can, yeah, like you could think like, you know, I could say, okay, yeah, like I am somebody who, you know, has Lyme. You are somebody who has Lyme or had Lyme or I had Lyme or whatever it is, right? But it's like the core belief is the issue, right? It's not just like, I think I'm better now and now I'm better, right? Like that's the problem. The problem is the core belief system. It's the negative belief system that's at like the bottom of it. And so like, you know, it's interesting. Like you know, the book that the light codes that I, you know, started channeling from the Palladians a while back had a whole section on health and wellness regarding physical illness. And there was a whole section on like choosing to be sick, right? And it's not really about like victim blaming, right? Like, because I think that's where this gets messy, because it's like, okay, like, then what are you saying about children who are sick? And this is where this starts to become a real issue, because you're like, okay, then are you saying that people like choose to be sick? And it becomes like a real battle. The thing is that there are lessons that we do come into this earth to learn as souls, whether we choose to learn them, like you just said, like whether we choose to learn them as children or we choose to learn them as adults. Like we choose, again, at the pensieve, we choose to learn certain things in this life. There are learned experience things that we choose to learn as like at a soul level. And that's just from like a channeled place, right? Like where like things that they've told me, right? Like that we come to learn. But like, you know, we come in to like learn those things, right? Like, and it doesn't necessarily, we don't know what those things are going to be, because how do you explain then children's illness?
I mean, obviously environment, but I think it comes from maybe the parent not dealing with certain trauma, a past life it's brought in from that it wasn't. It's from lessons and karma and trauma and things that are not processed.
Yeah.
I think it's environmental. I absolutely do think that. I think there are just so many things. Again, it's not one thing, right? So I don't think because someone has a negative outlook on life, they're going to get sick.
No, not at all.
Right.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No. And I think, no, to your point, like, you know, so you're not saying like children are sick because they're negative. Like,
no,
they don't even
they don't have that belief system. But like
exactly.
Coming into a world then again, like where we believe, right, that their environment, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, there's so many layers to all of this, and it gets so complicated. And like, it's just, there's no way that positive thinking could heal that. There's no way.
But environment, and when I say environment, I don't necessarily only mean like the climate. I mean the emotional environment this kid is in, right? Is it toxic? Is it really negative, like arguing? Is there a lot they have to escape from? Like, all of that changes your DNA as a being on this earth, right?
Yeah.
But I think that it's multi-layered, because I think you bring in things from your other soul lives, you know, your past lives. I think ancestral, like there is actual evidence that generational trauma, it changes your DNA, you know? So you have to look, like, listen, we live in the 3D. We have to look at some 3D things. That is just reality right now in a bigger reality. Yeah. And we can wish it away all we want, but the belief system really is looking at the core beliefs we've developed from our environment, from our past lives. Will I never heal? Am I destined to be sick? I can tell you, for me, it changed when I started to believe I can actually heal. Yeah. I was in a victim mentality for so long, and I think there's a time and place, but, you know, carrying it on and identifying and what you label yourself as is really important. Like, I was always like, I'm chronically ill. And like, I don't feel that way now, even though I have some symptoms. Like, I don't identify with that anymore. It's not me. It's not all of who I am. And it has drastically reduced, you know, and it's my core belief system of I'm never going to have enough. That was inherited to me from past generations. It's this feeling of not being good enough and needing to be silent, which is from past lives. So it's all these different things. And it's from my personal experience of trauma and obstacles that I dealt with in this life that I ignored. So
Right.
that's where it came in and was like, hey, we're going to teach you a lesson until you get the freaking message.
Yes.
So.
Right. And those things, and I just want to like really nail this home because like you're 100%, those things are belief systems. They're not
Right.
thought patterns. They are thought patterns
Right.
that come from belief systems and karmic cycles. And they come with then feelings associated. So what we were saying in the last episode was when you really want to change something, you are changing the belief system, the thought pattern, and the feelings associated. And that is how you change the identity. That is how you quantum leap. That is really how, like when Beth was talking about, like when Joshua was saying, I am, and then Beth was saying, bring the feelings associated with, like, that is really how you're making a real shift because it can't just be positive thinking. Because if you don't really believe it at a core level, and that's what takes real change, that is like really like, that's the work. And that doesn't happen overnight. It is on a mind, body, spirit like level. And that is like the 3D healing. Like it has to happen on like really on all levels. And so I think like this is a deeper conversation. This is like really a lot of the work that Beth and I do. This is, I think, for really, this is like the mind, body, spirit work that we do together and like, you know, with people. And so I want to go deeper into this. I don't even think there's enough time for us to like touch
We're
this.
already an hour.
Yeah.
But I think this is such a good conversation. Yeah. And I just want to add, when you do that, even though it takes like, I started like maybe almost a decade ago maybe even longer on this, you know, and not to say you're going to be 20 years in and you're going to see change, but I didn't really commit to the change till like probably 5-10 years ago, you know, but it's slow, but it works. And you're healing past lives, you're healing generations. So it's like you're healing everybody behind you. You're healing like the soul that existed before, the lives that existed before. So you're doing not just this, you're doing everything. So it changes like your future. That's how you create your own reality. It's like you're literally changing it as you do it.
Yes. And come see us.
Yes.
We love you and we'll see you soon. We'll see you next time.
Well, thank you for listening. We hope you found it as interesting as we did. I think this was a really great conversation. And again, yeah, like for real though, if you need support, we are here. We've been through it. We've gotten support. We still have support. And it's hard to do on your own and it's not meant to be done on your own. So really reach out. Our links are in our bios on Instagram, and thanks. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.